It is 6 o'clock on the button here, November 25th, 2025. This is a special meeting of the Common Council, City of Oneonta. And if the clerk would call the roll, we'll get this thing going.
Sure. Mayor Janik.
Here.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Here.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Here.
Councilmember McKee was excused. Councilmember Leparishu.
Here.
Councilmember Carson is excused. Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Councilmember Forster Rothbart is not here. And Councilmember Masson.
Here.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. And we have a public hearing. And that public hearing is to receive comments on the 2026 tentative budget as approved by the Common Council on November 18th, 2025. So if you would like to comment, Don, can we ask that you pull that? Thank you. You'll please make your way up to the podium, identify yourself, tell us where you live, and provide us with your comment. About 3 minutes would be an ideal. And with that, thank you very much, Don. Okay. All right, Randy.
Hi, I'm Randy Merzel, lives at Kelly Corners Road. Nice to be back. I want to talk about your budget for the runway extension or the roadway that you were talking about. You were trying to refer to as maintenance. That's far from maintenance. That is a rebuilding and relocation of the road. I think for one, by accepting that proposal, you're kicking this can further down the road. It comes back to the whole the conversation that's been going on about eminent domain. And at one point there was a consensus that the city council did not want to have to enact eminent domain. And the more you take and push this further down, I know this is design phase, but once you've done the design phase, then you say, well, we've done the design phase, we spent the money there, we can't not do the project. And I don't care how much money, if you're only putting in 2% of it, whatever, you're still paying for it in the long run. We're all paying for it with money, taxpayer, maintenance of that, because then you've created your maintenance and your city water. We've talked about that countless times. It doesn't seem to matter. I think that I think you're jumping the gun with this by accepting that proposal at this point. You're kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse. There's been no agreement with any landowners about any kind of this off-site obstruction that keeps being talked about. There's been no agreement with any of that, and that seems to be a big contingency with any of this next phase of this whole project. And so to spend $200,000, whether it's your money or not, on design, to me seems just a little bit, kind of like I said, kind of jumping the gun on it. And I think to try and characterize it as maintenance, to try and get around that was a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't set well with me, honestly, because it's obviously not maintenance, it's well beyond maintenance. So I just, I think I thought we were trying to get back to like honesty and full transparency with all of this stuff, and so I would like to see that continue, because lately I'm not really feeling that again. It's like we're coming back to this whole point of like, waking up in the middle of the night and, it's not a great feeling. It's like nowhere in the budget is there, I don't see anything in there about, I don't know how you're gonna pay me back for the loss of peace that I have in my life right now. But where does that fit into this budget? So I'm just, tired of it. I've lived in peace up there for almost 30 years, more than 30 years. And you got this guy running this place who is.
So Randy, we're tangentially connecting to the budget
I
here.
know, but this is all
Very
the budget.
tangentially.
This is the budget, because this all starts with money and it ends with money. So that's why I'm bringing this up in the budget part of it, because the budget is where it stops it. If you stop trying to pay for it and stop trying to take FAA money to do that, it puts the brakes on things.
Right.
So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Randy. Have we anybody else who'd like to speak on the budget, public hearing on the budget? Okay, hearing and seeing no hands, hearing no others, then we'll close this public hearing on the 2026 tentative budget. I'm going to move to the discussion agenda. Motion number 1, that the Common Council adopts the local law which would amend certain provisions of the City of Oneonta Municipal Code, Chapter 236, entitled Sewers, which would set the sewer rates for the 2026 calendar year. This local law was laid electronically on November 14th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve? I've got Don, followed by Elaine, and discussion. Yes, Scott?
I'm a broken record every year, but because we're doing such a good tax hike this year, not that it's good, but, you know, bad choice of word. Because we're doing a significant tax hike this year, I think to me, I don't see where I could really try to get into the water and sewer this year with what we're doing, so.
Okay, further discussion? All right, yes,
Scott, just since I wasn't on council last year, without going into a lot of detail, say what your concerns.
Because every year we've been going up 10% for the last couple of years, and the people down in my ward are feeling the pinch on their limited budgets. And even though we can justify that it's only this much more, they're struggling. And we're doing quite a significant tax hike this year on our budget. And I don't think that this is the time to raise this up this much. So.
Katie?
I would just also say that last year we tried a different approach that was conservation-based, that had a higher increase the farther up on the table you went, and that was not considered this year. And so for that reason, for the same reason as Scott, knowing that the most of our users are in that first step and are affected by the minimum, I don't think it's a good idea to just have that flat approach. I think we need to take the broader context into consideration, and I don't think we did that this year. So,
Elaine?
I just want to make sure we're staying focused on sewers. It seems like we're talking now about the water rates, perhaps.
it's both.
Yes, that's a good point, that we're talking about sewers. Yes, Don?
I support the increases in the water and sewer rates. Scott mentioned the overall property tax increase, and I've spoken out against that. I think when it comes to infrastructure, it's important that we take care of the things and upgrade the kind of infrastructure that we have. In my mind, the most important things are clean water that we take in, to use, to drink and cook with and bathe in with. And that when we're done with it, we don't dump it dirty into the Susquehanna. So it's important that we maintain our sewer system and the water purification to the sewer water. So I think we have to do this. It's but when we look at the big picture, as I've said in council meetings before, general property tax increase that we're discussing is something that I'm opposed to. The water and sewer rates I support.
Okay, thank you, Don. Further discussion? Yes, Elaine?
Yeah, I just, want to remind us that the reason that these were set up and we did spend significant amounts of time on all areas of the budget, including these rates and, making sure that we dove into the details. It's to make sure that we're maintaining this infrastructure moving forward. And it's been made very clear to us how much we need to invest in this infrastructure to make sure that we're maintaining it because for instance, this past year we had a water main break, and we had to deal with that and we had to pay for it. The longer we kick this can down the road, the more it's going to cost us, okay? Because we know that the longer we wait on upgrading this infrastructure, the more it costs us in emergency expenses and the more it costs us in inflation expenses as time goes by. So I continue to support the rates that we have studied, and are presented with us today.
further discussion? It's unfortunate we're lacking 2 council members. We'll take a vote.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember LaParshu.
No.
Councilmember Harrington.
No.
Councilmember Forster Rothbart.
Yes.
Councilmember Masson.
Yes.
Okay, 4 votes doesn't have this pass, obviously. We'll move on to motion number 2. Motion that the Common Council adopts the following schedule of water rates to be effective January 1st, 2026. I'm not going to read it, it's as presented. You all have it in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve? Don, followed by Mike. And discussion? No discussion, we'll take a
Actually, I
vote.
wanted to make
Yes,
one thing.
Don.
This is a comment, Elaine, we've had more than one water leak last year.
Yeah, no, yeah.
One big one.
Thank you.
And, Chris probably could give us a number, but it probably was 20 or something like that.
I'd like to ask a
Katie.
question. Last year, when we had an alternative fee structure for water rates that was different than what's proposed here today, just off the top of your head, Ginny, was the revenue decreased, increased, or about the same?
The revenue exceeded the anticipated budget in a combined total, just slightly. But what happened was about 26 users out of our 4,000, almost 4,000 users, their bills went up over 25%. And so this year, their bills will still be going up. It's just that because of the adjustment of last year and how the rate table was adjusted, we had to even it out a little bit between the steps. And the projection of the budget this year, the higher users, that budget went up, I wanna say, from 750 to 940. And then the budget for all of the other users in the water fund is only going up maybe 125,000, something like that, and in the sewer it's 75,000. So even with the rate structures with the water and sewer, the revenue from a majority, like, 90% of our users is still going up a smaller, much smaller dollar.
Mhm. I just want to ask for clarification on something you said. You said we had to balance out the steps.
You had to balance out the steps because the top steps are getting, I want to say, too high as compared to the price per gallon. So if you look at the revenue numbers that I gave you, here, just take a look at the chart. So you will see that when you get up to the 3 million gallons, it generates about $30,000, and it will do the same thing in the sewer. So that basically comes to about a penny per gallon. And when you look at the beginning steps, it's about 0.07 cents a gallon per gallon. In the proposed rate structure that will be coming forward when we reconstruct based on a base fee and a user fee, Waterworth has said, half a penny, maybe 75 cents of a penny, and then a penny and a half type thing. We haven't finalized those yet because we have to finish breaking out the valve size to figure out the base fee there. So when we get up to the 3 million mark, it's basically a penny per gallon. And so when you're going through the steps, when you compound up through the steps, the top step is paying over 46% more than the people in the beginning of the steps. So that was why I felt that I had to adjust the rates so we would be collecting a smaller dollar from a much higher majority of the users. Because if I did everybody the same, the top step would just be very, very expensive.
Further
So
questions?
that was how I adjusted.
I mean, sure, I could go all
in the city without repairing water mains and sewer mains because we just cannot afford it. As we learned this past winter, when we had redone Market Street, we had a water main break there and it cost us, I don't know, Greg, over $100,000 to repair. And $100,000 is the contracting cost to repair the roadway, the sidewalk, the curbing. Doesn't include the overtime of my people, doesn't include the cost of the materials to repair it. We just had another water main break up on East Dormitory Drive up at the college. Just the materials, asphalt and sidewalk repair was over $30,000. That doesn't include my overtime, doesn't include the materials to repair it. These repairs are expensive. And if we don't keep putting money away to repair these water mains, we're gonna keep on having water main breaks. I estimate we probably have anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen a year. Some of them are a lot less, but some of them are pretty expensive to repair. Just want everyone to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Yes, Kate.
So, just to reiterate, last year, we tried something that was not the approach that's in front of us this year, where the highest users paid a higher.
Well, no, it's not the same approach, because what we did last year is we only did the minimum at $5 for the minimum instead of the normal 10. And then what we did is we raised, like, the first 3 steps, I'm gonna say 6%, 7%, 8%.
Right.
And the top step was like 13%.
Right.
So by the time you compounded that, when you went up to the 3 million, or over the 3 million gallons, those users were paying, as I said, we've got about 26 users in the city that's providing 45% of the revenue. And that's why I felt that that step was high enough, that's why I only did 2%. I think it was 2% this year on the top step.
So just to reiterate though, last year we tried a different structure than what's in front of us, and the revenue exceeded the budgeted revenue, right? So
Yes.
I don't see it as either we approve this or we don't take in enough revenue. I think we just see it differently, and so personally, I disagree with this structure for the reasons that, you know, Scott identified, that I think that, you know, it takes a lot more people to raise $1 million a penny at a time, than it does to charge people who are using 100 times the amount, or users who are using 100 times the amount of water, just slightly more. And so just for that reason, I just wanna be clear that it's not about raising the revenue or not raising the revenue, because there are alternative ways to raise the revenue.
I understand.
And you just disagree with what I think, and I disagree with what's presented here, and that's okay, that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I also wanna make sure that everybody understands that the higher users are already paying 47 to 40 to close to 50% more for the water that they are receiving. So they're already doing that, so I don't want you to think that that has changed in any way. Cause, so the amount that they were paying per penny, you know, per gallon is, I wanna say, almost 50% more than the lower user.
Elaine?
Because also what I'm hearing is that with this structure, then we're relying on a very small number of users to fulfill that top tier and bring in, and that's where I think having a structure like what we're presented with helps balance out that structure so that we have more users that it's spread out amongst for strength of the stability within the system. So I do continue to support what we've been presented with.
And I'll give you one example. We had one of the high users close their business. So that revenue, we ended up losing about 80,000 on that line that particular year, just because of one customer. And so, you know, that's why when I present this, I'm trying to be fair to all users, but also emphasize you know, to urge conserving water. And this grid used to have probably 5 more steps on it, then it was reduced to this. Waterworth is going to suggest that we go down to 3 steps. So I'm trying to prepare us for that preparation. And also, when you take it and divide the annual bill by 12, it's about $25 a month for their water and their sewer at the minimum.
Cecilia.
I had a question. I just am curious if you could, because you made this point twice, Ginny, I just wanted to get clarity, because the first time I understood and the second time I was less clear.
Okay.
So, in the current system that you have proposed for us tonight, the top step is paying over 40 to 50% more than the bottom tier? Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Jenny, one more question. So those 26 top users, which categories do they all fall in the highest? Are they over a 3 million gallon
Yes.
tier?
Yes, they're over the 3 million gallons.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for that clarification.
Further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote.
Sure. Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu.
No.
Councilmember Harrington.
No.
Councilmember Forster Rothbart.
Yes.
Councilmember Masson.
Yes.
I have 4 yeses.
All right, well, hopefully we'll have a full vote next time, and we'll see where we land with this. No further business?
Actually, could I ask?
Yes.
In the event that a full council doesn't change the outcome, I think that if it might be advantageous to prepare an alternative proposal to sewer and water rates, just based on the timeline, because we have to approve them, right, in December?
We have to approve them, or we just give the current tables, but then we would have to change the budget, because there wouldn't be enough funding to cover the budget, so,
Right.
Is there suggestions that the council wants me to look at?
I'm not. Yeah, like I said, I support the current one. I don't feel like, especially understanding, staff time and this point that we've come to, I feel like we've had opportunity to study and discuss this.
It would seem that way to me as well. Katie, have you anything to suggest?
I mean, yeah, I'm in favor of the structure that we passed last year. Again, I think that didn't sacrifice revenue, gave a break to people who, are having a hard time coming up with $265. But then, yeah, I think that would be my suggestion.
And Ginny, were that to, so in lieu of a motion passing, even at the next council meeting, and we revert to that which has been done this past year, how does that affect our numbers for the budget?
I don't have that in front of me.
I-
I would have to reconstruct it, but I do know, I don't wanna comment until I.
That's fine, that's fine.
But Scott, is there something that you want me to present that you would support?
Here's my idea. We could possibly bring this water one back up if we don't do the sewer this year. The sewer's in a better position than the water. And I think if we would leave the sewer alone for a year, I could probably get behind where I would change my vote for the water. But if we're gonna do both of them plus the budget, I can't. I can't, because I know my ward, I know what they're struggling with. And, if all this money went for infrastructure, yeah, but not all this money goes to infrastructure, we know that. We pull it out for vehicles, we pull it out for this, we do, tap into the reserves to, hey, we're gonna get this vehicle, and blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? So, let's just be honest, it doesn't all go for infrastructure. We're sitting there saying it's all infrastructure, but it's not all infrastructure. I don't classify vehicles as infrastructure. So, I think there's, but that's just where I am. If we would just leave sewer alone, I could probably get a little bit more behind the water one, but it's just my opinion.
Okay, Elaine?
When we're talking about these though, this is sewer fund, this is water fund, this is not going towards, other types of expenses. And I guess my curiosity is if the concern is with the increase in the the stepped fees or the base fee, that's being, charged? Cause I know last year we went from $10 to $5, right? And I question how much of an impact that really had on individual households. So I'm just curious, like, what aspect of it that you're uncomfortable with, especially when we've gotten this far in the process, and this is the first that we're hearing, this amount of pushback on it.
Further discussion?
Not for me, I push back every year on
All the time,
it. So,
every meeting, yeah, sorry.
I'm a broken record.
All right, Kate.
I think the other thing too, to consider, and Ginny, I appreciate this point, and I make this point every year like a broken record, is that, once, we are able to bill incrementally, I would be in favor of higher increases.
Well, and remember, homeowners have the opportunity to pay us every month if they want to.
I know that.
And they can prepay, I put them on payment plans for who needs them, but out of our almost 3,900, 4,000 customers, I may have maybe 10 people asking for payment plans.
Yeah.
And, I also have, maybe less than 10 people probably prepaying, I had a woman today that just came in and gave us $30 to put towards her bill next time. But I've sent letters, I put it on the website, people are just not taking advantage of it. So,
I know, we have the same back and forth every year about it, and once it's incrementally billed and people can budget for it in a way that works for them, we remove the pain point of the annual billing. I would feel better about it, because I think that, looking at $25 a month and working that into your budget is a lot easier than, suddenly getting a bill and you don't really know how much it's going to be for, until you get it, so.
Scott?
So, I think you asked me a question, and I don't think I really answered it. Down in my ward, after we passed last year, and I voted no, I really didn't even walk outside my door for a couple of days, because every time I walked out, people stopped, and it was all over the water and the sewer. They could handle the 5% we went in the budget. They were really upset about the water and sewer. They think it's unfair how we do it. They think they're paying too much as it is. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what they feel, and they're entitled to it. And as a representative, I'm up here to voice their concern, and, so I hope that answers it a little bit better.
Yeah, it does help. Because interestingly enough, I had a ward meeting, and, we talked about budget, I brought the book and, reviewed everything and asked for feedback, and everybody was satisfied, with what had been presented, so.
Mike, did you have
It's
something?
interesting how it varies.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Ginny, do you have a sense in the lowest tier, like what the numbers of customers are?
oh, yes, we have almost 1,900 customers that do not go above the minimum.
Just to clarify, you're using the lowest tier as the 0 to 37,000, and the upper tier being the over 3 million. Okay.
In our annual billing, I wanna say it's 1,800 and something. I did do a report on it, give me a minute to find my memo on it.
Yeah, I was
Bear
looking
with me
for it.
for just 1 second.
I've got it here, Ginny. It's 1,965 or 51.6%. We're in the 0 to 37,000 tier. This is based on the 2025
And do we know,
billing.
do we know what the distribution is of usage, like within that, are most of those people just under 37,000, or are there some?
No, it will range. We have some people that, only use 5,000 gallons a year. And then we have some people that use just under 37,000. I could subtotal it and give you the range, as far as how many. But as Greg said, there's about 1,900 that do not exceed the minimum.
The reason I'm asking is I'm wondering if there's some set of the population that really uses a tiny amount of water, and
42 times 365, so that's about 29,900 gallons for one individual. So we have 800, like, as I said, about 1,900 that are within that first level. So when we do restructure, and then they're gonna get a quarterly billing, it's going to be for the base, which is going to be for, you know, the infrastructure getting it to and from the house, plus a water usage fee for what we actually do use. Because one complaint, and I told you this before that I get at the window, is, well, I only use 10,000 gallons, how come I have to pay this? So I have to make them understand that they're not just paying for their water usage, but they're also paying for all of the plants and the infrastructure that we need to provide to get that water to and from their house.
I want to go to Chris real quick, please.
So this may be a little long-winded, but I just want to state that we have an obligation to the residents of the city to provide water and sewer. And it's becoming exceedingly difficult to do that at an affordable rate. You know, as far, you know, it's a liability. We have a huge liability here, both in our sewer system and our water system. Our sewer system, we have I&I problems. Under our newest speeds permit, wastewater permit, we are required to do an I&I study. We know we have I&I issues, inflow and infiltration. When it rains, water infiltrates into our sewer systems and enters our wastewater treatment plant. On average, our wastewater treatment plant does 2 million gallons a day. It's designed to do 4 million gallons a day. When it rains, it goes up to 8 million gallons a day. We can't treat that. So raw sewage goes into the Susquehanna River. And I'm sure you've seen Facebook posts about it because it happened not too long ago, several months ago. So it's a liability for us. And I'm anticipating when we do the I&I study, we find out we have all these I&I issues, DEC is gonna put a consent order on us. They're gonna make us repair the I&I, and they're not gonna let us have any additional users connect to our sewer system without the I&I issue being addressed. So that's a huge issue for us. We wanna do growth here in the city. It's not gonna happen if we're under a consent order. Now, as far as the water system, we're doing upgrades to the water system now. We have issues with our reservoir and drought conditions. We talk about wanting to do a second well. It's gonna be expensive to do that. We have to have monies to be able to do these projects. We've come close the last 3 years to water conservation efforts, requiring people to hold, you know, conserve water, and we've been lucky, right? It's about luck right at the moment. So we've got to really think about where we want to be and the liability we have and the obligation we have to our residents.
Thank you, Chris. Further discussion? Was that a hand?
Yes. I guess I'm wondering if Scott and Katie could address some of your concerns. I mean, if there was a category that let people, I mean, I'm not talking about like a huge discount, but give people some discount if they're really using a small amount of water, and then spread that, whatever that's gonna cost us, spread that over the other tiers.
That's what we did last year.
I mean, I'm not talking about a complete rate thing, I'm just talking about like, you know, giving people a, I don't know, $15 discount or something if they're using a tiny amount of water.
That's pretty similar to what we did last year.
Yeah, that is how this is set up. You can look at these rates, there's a minimum, and then it increases the more that they use. And I hear what you're saying, that there is an opportunity perhaps, you know, in the future. But again, that is, you know, perhaps an idea that could have been worked out earlier in the process, but this is where we're at. And we need to have, you know, the budget is depending on making sure that we fulfill, you know, rates that we have outlined here. And, you know, for instance, if we make changes like that, that could potentially impact the budget. And I don't even know how we would estimate that. I really urge us to think about the liability and responsibility that Chris is pointing out to us, that I've been urging us to think about as well. Because this is weighing heavy on my mind. I hear it that we don't want our folks, you know, in the city here to be financially burdened. Absolutely not. And what I don't want to see is for us to face a really emergent urgency that we have to, you know, really be faced with I mean, 6 to 12 water main breaks per year. What if we had more than that? What if we did get faced with this, I forget, what did you say that was called from the DEC?
Consent order.
Okay, if we got faced with a consent order, you know, we have projects in mind that are supposed to strengthen our infrastructure that we would no longer be allowed to, you know, pursue. So we really need to think hard about this. I would urge us to reconsider these rates. You know, if not tonight, then perhaps when the full council is here next week.
For certain, we'll be bringing it back to full council on December 2nd. We are in a place right now with our timeline where we don't have a lot of flexibility. We're not in October, November, or early November here.
I don't know if, Bonnie can answer the question, but if we change the sewer rate tables, we're gonna have to relay the local law. And
I don't know that we have time to do that.
Time period we've got to
Right.
do that.
Yeah, we don't have time.
So we would have to follow up on that. But also, and I just want to put, you know, inform the council that in looking at, even when we go to quarterly billing, I can almost predict that it's going to be, at least $50 a month between water and sewer. Because it'll be about $600 a year just for the base fee. Because when you look at the anticipated costs in the future years to come, with all of the infrastructure repairs that we need to do, we need to raise the funds to be able to either bond it or pay for it. And so, that's what I'm saying, is I'm trying to get there gradually, and not have a huge increase in 1 year.
Yeah.
And when you look, I was looking through my graphs here. We did water and sewer rate comparisons, but I think it's in your last year's budget book, and you will see that the city of Leona is one of the lowest in water and sewer rates compared to the other cities. And matter of fact, we actually, Judy can probably speak to this, we will not qualify for certain grants because they say that the residents are not contributing enough towards, whatever project that we may be applying for. Is that correct, Judy?
It's not quite that direct, but they do consider the affordability when they, calculate some grants. I just wanted to bring up, and I've said this in the past, the state controller's office, every year sets what they call the district, special district average for towns and counties for water and sewer districts. So if you're in a town and you're creating or expanding a water or sewer district, if you're under these numbers, you're considered a low-cost district and you don't need full-blown approval from the controller's office. These numbers are used by as guidelines when you're working in the water and sewer industry throughout New York State, whether you're in a town or a village or a city. So for sewer, that number is $663 a year, and for water, it's $1,101 a year. So combined, if you were under the $1,764 a year for both, you're considered low-cost districts. As I said, we don't use that number here for anything other than just a gauge for where we stand statewide for other communities. The controller's office, like I said, uses that for town districts especially. It's a good guideline. It's also something, those numbers are what the funding agencies, some of the funding agencies look at to see where we are at compared to that. And that's for a typical household. Our typical household is in the $300 range when they're at the minimum. So we are already very under what many communities in the state are paying. And that does play into it for certain funding agencies, how much your grants can be.
All right, so we have two failed motions here, and we're not going to be successful in coming back to either one of them. I don't believe with the 6 council members that we have here. I don't want to leave our festival in the bullpen. I think we're going to need to have this conversation in earnest on December 2nd and arrive at something that will allow us to move forward with our budget, because we don't have the option around time. We're not in early October. So with that, yes, Mike?
Yeah,
I just wanted to clarify that I am fine with this budget the way it is, and I support it. I was just looking for ideas to help get Katie and Scott on board.
Appreciate it. Elaine?
And I just want to point out, I served as chair of the Budget Review Committee. The whole point of the Budget Review Committee was to have these conversations ahead of time, okay? We spent almost 2 hours in the month of June meeting with the Department of Public Works. I urge everybody to go back to that. It is in our budget books. It's about halfway through. There is a BRC brick section for the Budget Review Committee, and you can review what we talked about with them. But I just really got to think about this process too, that if the point of having a Budget Review Committee was to expedite these conversations, I question how that ended up working out for us.
That's a pretty good point. All right. That said, we will reconvene on December 2nd. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, all. We're adjourned.
I want to let you guys know,